lost 136 and a half trying to get to 135. As a result, had to pay Murray $20,000 out of his purse, was stripped of the 135-pound title that he had won earlier, and if Murray wins the fight, he gets that title belt. If Rios wins it, that title belt goes vacant. Murray is from just outside Manchester, trains in Bolton, England. And here's a look at what happened at the weigh-in yesterday, which you cannot see that Brandon Rios is stark naked. Every ounce of clothing was removed. You see how drawn he looked. His face was literally caved in. It was reported in one circle that he went 4 days without eating. That sounds a little bit hard to believe, but he was sipping tiny sips of water yesterday, into which his manager Cameron Duncan, I should say, was pouring small half tablespoons of salt. I don't really understand that, but we can speculate all night about it. Let's go to Michael Buffer for the official introductions.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the co-featured fight of the evening, presented by Top Rank Incorporated in association with Frank Warren's Sports Network. Sponsored by Tecate Cerveza con Carácter and AT&T. Rethink Possible. Sanctioned by the New York State Athletic Commission and the WBA. The three judges at ringside scoring this bout: Glenn Feldman, Tony Paolillo, and Nelson Vasquez. And inside the ring, in charge of the action at the bell, referee Earl Brown. And now 12 rounds of boxing for the WBA Lightweight Championship of the World. Fighting out of the blue corner, wearing black with gold, official weight 134 3/4 pounds. His professional record, 31 victories, including 18 knockouts, only one defeat. From the legendary sports city of Manchester, England, the challenger, former European lightweight champion, John Murray. And fighting out of the red corner, wearing light blue, officially weighing 136 1/2 pounds. His professional record, 29 fights, 28 victories without a loss, with 1 draw, including 20 wins by knockout. From Oxnard, California, he's the former WBA Lightweight World Champion, Brandon "Bam Bam" Rios.
Brandon, John, you received your instructions in the dressing room. I expect a clean, professional fight. Obey my commands at all times. Protect yourselves at all times. From here down is going to be considered low. From here down is going to be considered low. Touch them up. Go to your corners.
All right, Brandon.
This fight was supposed to be the least competitive matchup on the undercard, but given how one-sided the first 2 fights turned out to be, and given Rios' trouble making weight and John Murray's aggressive style, could it turn out to be the best?
Come on, let's go, guys. Let's go. Back up, John.
And sophisticated fans at home might say, well, surely Rios, in the 28 hours since he tried to weigh in yesterday, has had plenty of time to rehydrate his body, but no, not exactly, because in addition to getting the $20,000 and the stipulation regarding the title, John Murray's camp also achieved the beachhead of a ruling that saw to it that Brandon Rios had to weigh in again at 9 o'clock this morning and could not weigh more than 147 pounds. So he went up only to 146.4 overnight, whereas under normal circumstances, he might have put on 16, 18, 20 pounds.
Well, you know, it's really unfortunate to see him have to lose his championship because of a little over a pound and a half. But it happens a lot. And I think at this stage he was just mentally and physically distrained. He just said, "Hey, I'm not going to do anything else. It is what it is, and I'm just going to have to fight and the title is not as important as my health.
Yeah, the loss of the belt doesn't change who he is. At least one major ranking service ranks him as the second best lightweight in the world behind only Juan Manuel Marquez. And if you think about a fight between the hard, rough, physical, go-forward Rios and the counterpunching Marquez, it would be very interesting at this stage. Now Rios begins to get going early, and true to Murray's prediction, they could have been in a phone booth at this point. Murray lost his last fight by knockout to his countryman Kevin Mitchell. He was unbeaten up to that point. There's been talk of a dream matchup for Rios sometime in 2012 with Yuri Orcus Gamboa, who's working with Emmanuel Stewart now and has made a firm decision to leave featherweight behind and was willing to look at a fight with Rios at 135. But in the wake of what happened yesterday, the question arises as to whether Rios is ever going to be able to make 135 again.
Rios got hit low and didn't complain, shook his leg out twice. Murray thought he saw an advantage, tried to follow up, but I guess there was none.
Rios is not a guy who turns and complains to the referee. He does his own business in the ring. Brandon Rios, incidentally, is from Garden City, Kansas. And you may remember that he has a stormy past with fellow Garden City resident Victor Ortiz. They both train in or near Oxnard, California. They don't like each other. It's good to know that the town is, at least for now, big enough for both.
Right now the fight is very tight. I think Rios has a slight edge, but it seems like the best punch of the fight so far seems to be Rios shooting his punches up between the gloves of his opponent.
His vicious uppercut.
Yeah, Murray's getting caught with uppercuts, left uppercuts and right uppercuts between the seven.
Brandon Rios, fun to talk to. Says that when he got into amateur fighting, he couldn't stop. Believes that he had nearly 400 amateur fights. He didn't count them all. He says, I think I lost at least 100 of them. But that's one way to learn. He ultimately won a national championship.
Good. How's it going? Good?
Okay.
All right. How's the power? Nothing. Nothing. Good.
Side to side. I want to see you give me some more rhythm side to side, please, all right? You're standing too straight. I want to get more rhythm, okay? I want you to use your legs and your
head after it, all right, okay? Yeah, good round. Yeah, good left hook to the body downstairs then as well, all right? Just keep it tight. Just try to maraude you. Is a strong little close? No, right, okay then, good. Keep banging that jab, and a straight 1-2 down the middle, son. Straight 1-2, but make sure you roll that head after the right hand.
Well, if Brandon Rios was all done in from the weight struggle, it didn't exactly limit his punch output in round one. Rios landed 24 out of 94 to 18 of 66 from Murray. Together, they combined to land just 5 jabs. The rest were power shots. And as Emmanuel Stewart pointed out, the dominant punch of the first round, that vicious uppercut that Brandon Rios is known for.
Rios, you know, it's not just that he missed it by 1.5 pounds because he was trying so desperately to cut weight all week. You know, he was many pounds away from lightweight to basically starve himself and still not be able to make the weight, no matter how much he tried to sweat it off.
One explanation that came from their camp was that the training camp at 14,000 feet in a tiny town in Mexico was cool, not hot. That Rios is accustomed to training in much warmer weather in Oxnard, and when he went down to Mexico to that altitude, he simply couldn't lose weight.
There's certain things about Rios, I know it's blasphemy, but they remind me of Roberto Duran in certain ways. And one of them is when he doesn't perceive it as a threatening fight, he doesn't come in the same way as when he perceives it as a big opportunity.
Well, this is the semi-main at a major pay-per-view card in Madison Square Garden. So you have to assume that he didn't take this one particularly lightly.
He just isn't grown in the lightweight division. He's trained hard, and he's been training right along with Margarito, with Robert Garcia. There's quite sure he's in great shape. It's just that he's outgrown the lightweight division.
Might want to learn to move his head too, wouldn't hurt anybody.
So if he's outgrown the lightweight division, maybe that dims the chances of a dream fight with Gamboa and increases the chances, if he beats Murray tonight, of a dream fight with Marcos Maidana, which many believe would be World War IV.
You got to get through this fight first. He's getting caught a lot.
Yep, he is. And Murray's a sharp puncher. who's done damage to all his opponents prior to the Kevin Mitchell fight, which was also a rough fight.
It's one thing when you have fighters fighting on a big show like this, they have time to get in great condition when they're knowing sometimes maybe a month, 2 months before the fight, so they get in great shape. Where a lot of fights they may lose sometime occasionally because they took them at last minute notices, wasn't in great condition. That's not the case when you have these type fights. Everyone comes in great shape physically and mentally.
Emmanuel, what do you think has accounted for the tremendous rise in boxing talent in the United Kingdom in the last 20 years? Not just superstars like Lennox Lewis and Prince Nassim Hamed and Joe Calzaghe, but all sorts of fighters in other weight classes, and guys now like Ricky Burns and Nathan Cleverly, whom Americans have never seen. Matthew Macklin, who may be fighting here next year. Andy Lee, whom you trained from Ireland. Why are there so many in Great Britain and the United Kingdom now?
I think it's always been pretty good. I think it's just we've had such a big decline in our talent in America. That's why we're focusing so much on the European fighters, and particularly in the heavyweight division.
Margarito's going to wait until trainer Robert Garcia returns from the Rios fight to put on his gloves. So that could occasion a small delay. You see Margarito joking around with his wife there. And Miguel Cotto's ahead of him. He's wet. Margarito's sitting down. Cotto has his gloves on and is warming up with a purpose. Now, what about the effect on Margarito of the fact that as he prepares for this big fight, Emmanuel, his trainer Robert Garcia is right in front of us dealing with Rios in the ring?
That's going to be pretty tough, because he needs to be warming up right now, and it's going to be impossible unless they have something worked out with someone else to do that for Garcia while he's out there, and I don't think they have sorted that out yet.
One of Margarito's traditional weaknesses is he's known to be a slow starter.
Yes, and that's one of the
things. This could make it even worse. Good start, third round now by John Murray. Quick shots to the body.
Brandon Rios beat Miguel Acosta in a fight in which he was rocked and had to overcome some adversity to finally break his man down and win by 10th round knockout. The question tonight is if this turns into that kind of fight, given his weight struggles, can he do that again? And how much does he have left after throwing 209 punches in the first 2 rounds? There's a good left hook by Rios. Back John Murray up. Rios' jab is longer than Murray's. He's not known particularly as a great jabber, but he's using it to good effect here in this round.
Yeah,
hard right hand by Murray.
Murray's putting up a good fight. I'm looking at the fight here. It's almost both fighters are mirror images of each other. The difference is, more as I said, Brandon Rios seems to be throwing punches more through the center and landing more, but other than that, the fight is very tight.
Punches just keep coming from Brandon Rios.
Started up through the center.
But compared to the way we're used to seeing Brandon Rios throw punches, those are almost shoe-shine type punches for him. Usually he throws very short, compact punches with some devastating power.
Well, maybe the weight loss has affected him still physically.
Logic tells you that if the weight loss robbed him of anything, punching power would be on the list.
And stamina and ability to absorb punches. John Murray, because of the way he lost his last fight, there's some whispers that maybe he's a little bit of a front runner and can't win a grueling fight. He lost the fight to Kevin Mitchell in England, but that's the only loss of his professional career.
Rios has a habit, Emmanuel, of grinning at opponents in the ring. What has to be disconcerting to the opponent is that he's not acting. He's grinning because he's having a blast.
Good luck, well done. All right.
December 10th, World Championship Boxing brings you 140-pound champ Amir Khan against Washington, D.C.'s Lamont Peterson. And beginning on the 26th, look for HBO's Boxing's Best of 2011. 6 top fights in 4 nights, including Mayweather-Ortiz and Pacquiao-Marquez-Free.
And he's forcing it. All right, you step back, and he didn't have the gas to push forward and go for it, all right?
Okay? I want you to keep going and keep punishing him, okay? Body uppercut. But when you're inside, be careful. Chin down,
You gotta hit the spaces, John. You gotta hit the spaces, all right? Tuck, and hit spaces. Making sure the punches you throw hit the space, all right? Yeah.
Well, after Rios threw 209 punches in the first 2 rounds, I wondered if his gas tank would continue to top up the way it has so far, and lo and behold, round 3, Rios throws 124 punches, landing 36. Murray, 32 out of 91. Heck of a fight. 68 punches landed by the 2 fighters, 61 of them were power shots. This is no jabbing contest. Good uppercut. Let's go to Max Kellerman, who is with Robert Garcia in the Rios corner right now.
Robert Garcia, what do you see so far?
It's a hard fight. Well, that's what we exactly expected. You know, Brandon's always getting to wars, and this guy that's his style. So we're in good shape right now so far.
Do you think that the struggle to make weight has affected Brandon in this fight so far?
Well, so far he's still looking good. He's landing some good punches. He's taking everything that Murray's got. So far it's not affecting.
Are you concerned for later in the fight?
Well, of course we're concerned, but Brandon has gone through that before because he's a big boy. Making 135 is not very easy. That's why we're moving up to 140 after this.
Robert Margarito's warming up by himself right now. Any thoughts about that?
No, I told him, to relax. Once I'm there, we're gonna start. We're gonna glove up. If it takes us half an hour, we'll do it.
Thanks, Robert.
If you were in the position that Garcia is in, Emmanuel Stewart, would you have said to Rios before he came to the ring, Brandon, tonight it's very important to win the first 4 or 5 rounds and get that lead on the scorecard?
Yeah, I would say that because, not knowing what's going to be his physical condition going down the stretch in this fight here. And it's there's so much he can do, I guess. Both guys fight identical to each other style-wise. But Brandon's a very tough kid. He has a mindset that reminds me of a young Fernando Vargas when he was younger. Very, very tough kid. Mentally and physically.
Don't push his head down. Don't push his head down, John.
And he's trained by the son of the man who trained Fernando Vargas.
Yes. At Oxnard, California, which is a very hot spot in boxing right now.
The reason I keep harping on the weight for Rios is there's something about him. He's such a physically and mentally hard guy that in these bruising kind of fights, it always feels like the other guy's breaking down, but he's not. So you have to wonder if he hadn't eaten or hadn't eaten much for days and barely drank any water, how his body's going to respond, whatever his spirit says, as this fight wears on.
Rios has 3 children, a 4th on the way, even at his tender age. And the first 3 are all named for boxers, including a son called Marcus Antonio, who's named for Marco Antonio Barrera, sitting behind us doing Mexican television tonight, and a daughter named, euphoniously, Layla Ali Rios.
Surprised it's not Ann Wolf Rios the way he fights.
There's Tony Margarito, warming up a little bit in the dressing room, but as recently as a minute ago, he was posing for photographs, like that. And in Cotto's dressing room, we're going to see something entirely different. Miguel Cotto is working, developing a lather, warming up. Is there a big difference in those 2 approaches, Emmanuel?
Yes, I think that Margarito needs to be warming up, in particular in view of the fact that he's known to be a notoriously slow starter.
Have you ever seen a fighter leave the fight in the dressing room?
Yes, I have. I had one fighter that warmed out too much, wore himself out, and by the time he came out into the fight, he was soaking wet. He was physically drained to the point where he won like 10 rounds.
But a fighter as experienced as Miguel Cotto isn't likely to make such a mistake.
No, Miguel, you notice he's working very soft on the pads. Nothing intense and nothing is fast. Just doing enough to stay loose and flexible.
And if the weight problem was going to arise for Rios and show up in the CompuBox numbers, maybe it began in round 4. As Rios threw only 74 punches in the 4th round after throwing 104, 105, and 124 in the first 3. Only 12 of 35 power shots for Rios in the 4th round. Murray with a much bigger round, landing 33 of 65 power shots. So Murray won that round, or appeared to, on the scorecards.
Rios is fighting a guy who just learned an object lesson in his last fight about not punching himself out and preparing himself better. Maybe it's the wrong night for Rios to have had these problems.
I think we're looking at beginning signs that he might be running out of gas. Definitely slowed down. Those punches don't appear to have anywhere near the zip that the punches he landed in the first couple rounds did.
He's punching and moving in, but it's not with the intensity or the speed or the power that he had earlier in the fight.
Good left hook upstairs for Murray. Only natural that Murray's confidence would begin to rise as Rios' punch output begins to drop.
And if Murray can come through and win this fight, he's the new lightweight champion of the world.
Well, he has a
title
sanctioning body belt in which, in the same sanctioning body, they recognize Juan Manuel Marquez as their super champion, in other words, real champion. So the belt is really kind of absurd.
Yes, it's a bogus belt, as many of them are. But surely Murray will say, oh, now I'm a real champion.
I mean, if Murray wins it tonight by beating Rios, he won it.
Well,
he won something.
Yeah, but regardless of whether the bogus or not, which a lot of them may be questionable, but still, you make money when you have those belts.
Oh, yeah, and fighters want them, yes, no question.
It definitely improves.
They are bargaining chips.
Yeah, it definitely improves the income.
Even as they alienate casual fans and shrink the entire pool of money. Short-term gain, long-term hurt to the sport.
I personally couldn't agree more. How can you call somebody a champion if there are 3 others in the same division who are using the same appellation?
Don't push him, don't push him.
And one other in the same sanctioning body who's the champion.
Come on, John, don't push his head down.
And
Let
he's
him go.
Juan Manuel Marquez.
Yeah, the whole
Come on,
super
stop pushing his
champion,
head
champion
down.
emeritus, normal champion, whatever term they use, it's all garbage. At the very least, these governing bodies should be disciplined enough to only give out one belt in the division.
When you're a star attraction fighter like Floyd Mayweather, the championships are not that important. And he really set a good example to a lot of the fighters when he said he didn't even have to have a title.
Right, Floyd makes the belt, not the other way around.
That's right.
Oh, Rios hurt
Good
him
left
with
hook
something
by
at the end.
Rios at the end of the round. Now, lest we give you an imbalanced picture of what's going on in the dressing rooms, you saw the photograph taking in Margarito's dressing room. Let's see what's happening in Cotto's dressing room. That's Carmelo Anthony with his back to you. And Swiss Beats on the left is the husband of Alicia Keys, and that's Miguel Cotto's son in the picture with them. So there's photograph taking in both of the dressing rooms, but Cotto is taking a break from legitimate warm-up for that. Margarito hasn't yet put on his gloves.
Okay, babe.
And he hasn't yet put on his gloves because Robert Garcia is right there in your picture.
Side to side, use your jab. Good jab. Double jab. Or jab 3-2. Let's go.
Get your talking shoes, guys, on, guys. We may be filling a little bit between the fights when this one ends and we get ready for the main event, because surely Margarito is going to want to take a little time to develop a sweat. Power shots in round 3. Another round like its predecessor. Rios 13 out of 38, Murray 32 out of 62. But that left hook at the end of the round was visible, obvious, and snapped Murray's head back.
This, I think, we're seeing now Rios' greatest technical weapon, which is for a guy who looks like he's easy to hit at times and maybe not the most sophisticated offensive fighter, Emmanuel, Rios is capable of throwing very short, hard shots.
Very good short shots and very good focus and concentration at all times throughout the fight. His mental intensity and focus is very important and very good in his case.
Hurt Murray at the very end of the round with the last punch thrown, a very short, hard left hook to the head, to the chin.
Rios trying to take command again now. Trying to boost his punch output just a little bit and put Murray back on the defensive after Murray's had two very wide open offensive rounds in the fourth and the fifth. Good left hook to the body by Rios. Subtle punches inside do the damage for Brandon Bam Bam Rios when he's on. He's backed Murray into a corner. Uppercuts have bloodied Murray's nose again. Any comeback coming on here for Brandon Rios.
And that's a pattern you see in a Rios fight. Even as he's getting hit with a lot of shots, it's the other guy who's backing up, whose back hits the ropes, hits the corners.
He's really, really working those uppercuts up between the gloves of Murray very effectively. And you know, traditionally, a lot of the British fighters, when they have these type of fights, they give, so to say. They're not used to these tough, grueling fights.
Well, I read the columns of several British boxing writers in preparation for the fight, and it was the general consensus of British boxing writers that Murray would get knocked out in about the 7th or 8th. And right now, Murray's face is beginning to become a bloody mask as after 2 iffy rounds, Brandon Rios has come on again in the 6th.
His nose or his mouth, but it's gushing blood, spurting out of the front of his face, Murray.
And Rios grinning again as he watches the blood flow.
Let me go.
You all right? Yeah? Okay. Just got to watch that left uppercut. He's coming in so you're catching you having your head too far over your front foot, Jeremy. Yeah? Jeremy, have your head too far forward over your front foot. That was his big last stand. He had a round off and he's come out with a round on. All right, he might not do nothing this round. All right, try to work on that out. Yeah? Okay? You swell.
Here we say Rios landing, which has probably been the most effective punch of the fight. His left and right uppercuts up between the gloves of Murray. And looking at the facial expression and the bruises on Murray's face, I don't know if he's going to be in this fight much longer.
Yeah, that was a brutal shot between rounds of Murray in the corner. You saw the black under both eyes, both of them swelling. Within the last round, as Max Kellerman pointed out, he was gushing blood apparently from both the nose and the mouth. Rios, relatively unmarked, threw 84 power punches in that round. Big comeback round for him. Harold, how do you have it through 6?
Okay, Jim, I've got it 4 rounds to 2, 58-56, Brandon Rios. Just like he called it, Jim, I thought that John Murray won rounds 4 and 5. You know, he outworked Brandon Rios in the 4th and the 5th, and that's what Brandon Rios did to John Murray in 1, 2, 3, and 6. Anyway, Brandon Rios landed those nice hard uppercuts. He's the aggressor. He's backing up Murray. Murray's all busted up, and I agree with Emmanuel. I don't know how much further this fight's going to go. John Murray tends to fight Brandon Rios' fight. 4-2, Brandon Rios.
The problem with John Murray is his fight is Brandon Rios' fight.
So as we've mentioned, the #1 man of the lightweight division is still Juan Manuel Marquez. And it's one thing, Emmanuel Stewart, for Marquez as a great counterpuncher, to deal with a whirling dervish attacker like Manny Pacquiao, who tends to throw beautiful combinations upstairs and lands punches from relative distance, compared to somebody like Rios, who's going to come in that fight, if he gets a chance to fight Marquez, with the mentality that he's going to breathe in Marquez's mouth, he's going to lean on him, he's going to taste his blood if necessary, and he's going to fight him in a phone booth. How difficult would that be for Marquez to deal with?
Marquez would do very well, I think, with Rios. Rios is still mentally and physically a very, very tough guy. He's going to be tough for anyone, but Marquez is much more all-around talent and skills. But I don't know if that fight will ever be made because Rios is probably going to be fighting in the 140-pound division later on.
Although so might Marquez. Marquez looked pretty good at 144.
Yeah, but I think he'd make 135. I think he got up to that fight, so he wouldn't be given a weight advantage to Manny, but I think he'd be very comfortable back at lightweight.
I have a hunch the intelligent choice for Marquez is to go back to 135 if, in fact, he can get there, but it may require him to remove some muscle, and we all remember what happened when Roy Jones had to strip the muscle off his heavyweight body to go back to fighting in the light heavyweight division.
I gotta tell you,
wasn't the same.
No, and I got to tell you, Marquez versus Katsidas recently, or Juan Diaz, did not look as good to me as the Marquez who fought Pacquiao. He looked like junior welterweight, maybe slightly above even, is his best fighting weight right now.
Break, back up, don't punch.
Earl Brown is going to stop this for a moment now as Rios got clocked with a classic low blow. Now Brandon is grinning at us.
1 point deduction, hitting low.
This happened against
1 point deduction, hitting low.
Anthony Peterson, too, in Rios' coming out party here on HBO.
Right?
Peterson ultimately was disqualified.
Guys get a little desperate from the pressure, start throwing low blows.
Rios came pretty close to retaliating with his own low blow, but it looked like he got him right on the belt line instead.
You feeling good? Okay, baby. The last round was very nice. And this one you won, but it was a little bit less. It was a bit closer. One more.
Okay? Breathe. Break it, you already did. So I want you to keep now it's time to start finishing. All right? Can't give rounds away anymore, okay? That was my round, baby. Yeah, it was your round.
Here you see the low blow that Murray landed that caused the point deduction. It was a low blow, but it wasn't one of the worst low blows I've saw. And I was kind of surprised to some degree of the deduction because I think he'd been warned earlier, but only once. But it's always the discretion of the referee whether he wants to take a point or not.
Come on, champ, we can do this. It's your fight now.
Murray's trainer, Joe Gallagher, trying to encourage his charge and boost his chances, but Murray's face is beginning to show the story of the fight. And Brandon Rios is building a bigger lead on Harold Letterman's unofficial scorecard.
Don't push his head down. Let him go. Right, stop. Don't punch, don't punch. Break.
This fight was originally intended to be refereed by Eddie Cotton. As of today, don't know whether Cotton had a transportation problem or what, but Earl Brown was substituted as the referee. And Emmanuel, I really like Earl Brown. I think he's a good referee.
I think he's doing a good job.
The steam is starting to come out of Murray's punches. Those were arm punches, previously much sharper.
This has happened to every Brandon Rios opponent as the fight wears on. It's amazing that a guy could come into the fight in the condition Brandon Rios did, like a zombie, with that cutting that weight, and the other guy is the guy getting broken down late into the fight.
This is the same point at which last year, or earlier this year, I should say, Murray began to come apart against Kevin Mitchell.
Rios just has incredible determination.
So he says he lost 100 amateur fights or more, Emmanuel. I guess Brandon Rios has the professional style.
I remember him in the amateurs. I remember in 2002 and 2003, he just barely missed making the Olympic team. I think he was an alternate for the Olympic team in 2004 at 125 pounds, if I'm correct.
That is correct. And he won the national championship in that division the year before.
Yeah, he was one of the best amateurs to come out of our program.
He has just a professional style, though, through and through. I'm surprised he did that well as an amateur, Emmanuel.
What an uppercut show Rios is putting on. Sometimes throws 5, 6, 7 uppercuts in a row.
So far, that's been the main punch of the entire fight, is those punches up through the center. They're both going tit for tat for the punches on the side of the head, but up through the center where Rios has found a home and is working and operating mostly, it's been very effective for him. It has been very good.
Murray showing tremendous heart here too. His face all busted up.
Back up. Let him go. Don't punch. Don't punch.
The steam has come out of his punches, yes, but I don't get the sense that he's given up, and he keeps throwing his hands.
And between rounds, we're going to take you back to Tony Margarito's dressing room, where Brandon Rios, his training buddy Margarito, has just received a phone call from the First Lady of Mexico. And we're going to get to listen in.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Muchas gracias. Estamos listos para subir al ring.
Thank you. We're ready to get into the ring. Very motivated. We're very good and very well. We're going to win.
Muchas gracias, Jenny. Te lo agradezco de verdad.
Thank you very much. Very good. Thankful. Hopefully we have a good fight.
Con gusto, muchas gracias.
Yes, I will. Thank you very much.
Gracias. Muchas gracias.
Quite technically, Antonio Margarito is an American citizen, born in Torrance, California, moved to Tijuana at an early age and has spent most of his life there in Tijuana, but has sometimes come back and forth. Most of his development in the gyms over the course of the past 6-7 years have been in Southern California gyms in Orange County and Los Angeles. So it's interesting that he gets a call from the First Lady of Mexico, but in his mind and in his heart, and because of the way he's fought throughout his career, Margarito thinks of himself as a Mexican fighter, and Mexican fans probably tend to think of him also as a Mexican fighter.
Speak English. I mean, you know, Margarito is, I don't care where he was born, and, you know, he will tell you he's Mexican, and I believe him.
Yeah, the thing about being born in Torrance is a technicality. He's an American citizen who doesn't speak English, as Max said.
Fights Mexican.
Speaks Mexican.
And thinks of himself as Mexican.
But still, it's interesting he hasn't developed the ability to speak, English to me, because about 6-7 years ago, I had one of my fighters sparring with him and helping him get ready for a fight, and he was training at the gym in L.A. That's when he spent most of his time training in L.A. for his fight. So he spent a lot of time here in the United States.
Well, he understands it.
Yes.
Incidentally, he understands every word of English.
A lot of those guys speak a lot better English. They just are not that comfortable. I know when I was training Julio Cesar Chavez, I was very surprised how well he could speak English.
All of which, incidentally, makes it that much more impressive that Miguel Cotto has done what he's done. Going from speaking only Spanish and no English to speaking English all the time in public. It's an achievement that other fighters have tried, but to my knowledge, nobody's done it better than Miguel.
Miguel has been the best, and I think Juan Manuel Marquez is spending time now, and he's beginning to speak.
He's trying. Barrera has tried. Sergio Martinez is engaged in it right now, and I think Sergio, who's pretty brilliant, is going to get there, but he's 36 years old. Will he get there before the end of his career?
Well, he spends a lot of time in America, and I think he will. Urarcus Gamboa, who I'm training now.
Another one.
He's spending time taking courses in English.
Our shots in the 8th round, Rios was 34 of 79, Murray 25 of 83. The fight has fallen into a pattern the past few rounds, and the pattern bodes well for Rios because Murray seemed to lose his snap after rounds 4 and 5.
Although Rios is smiling at that right hand, but Rios is starting to hold with his left hand. He's locking up Murray's right arm with his left hand and holding. Rios is not generally a guy who likes to hold on.
Grab his head, John. Right. Come on now. Don't grab his head. Come on. I said break, all right?
That's quite a mask Murray is fighting behind now. Lest you had any doubt that he was a fighter, check the picture tomorrow morning.
Murray's fighting a very courageous fight. Definitely uncharacteristic of a lot of the British fighters. For any fighter, really, I wouldn't say British. His face is a mess, both sides, and he's still sitting there fighting toe-to-toe.
Coming in January on Freddie Roach. Premieres January 26 episodes of director Peter Berg's intensely personal look at the man who 5 times has been named Trainer of the Year against the backdrop of Parkinson's disease.
Yeah, come on. You've got to dig down now, deep down, dig down. They don't give world titles away, so we've got to dig down, all right? We've got to hit him, and we've got to hit him hard. We've got to hit hard to that body. Jamie, yeah? Switch your southpaw feet and drive that right hook in round the side to the body, yeah? But don't be throwing a sloppy 1-2. He's looking to counter you with your right hand with the left hook, all right? All right? There's got to be some devilment in your punches now. You've got to take the wind out of his legs, all right? Okay? Come on, come on, come on, come on. Suck up.
Emmanuel Joe Gallagher's given it his best to boost John Murray, but to my eyes, he looks discouraged.
He looks beaten, but it's still, I think he's trying. He just don't have the skills, I think, to pull out a victory.
Gallagher said the right thing in the corner. They don't give world titles away, you know, all the things that you would think would motivate a fighter right here.
Harold, how do you have it through 9?
Okay, Jim, I've got an 88-82, 7 rounds to 2, Brandon Rios. He gets an extra point in round 7 for that, the point that Roe Brown took away for the low blow. So Brandon Rios with a commanding 6-point lead on my card. He's just outworking John Murray inside. That 9th round was very, very close until the last 10 seconds or so, but all of a sudden Brandon Rios hit him with a vicious right hand that stunned Murray and pulled the round out for Brandon Rios. But basically Brandon Rios just outworking him, hitting him with the better shots, Murray getting more and more busted up. 7-2, Brandon Rios.
I think you can make a good argument Murray won the 9th round.
If we were still in the era of boxing, in which weigh-ins took place on the day of the fight, Brandon Rios would have been tremendously up against it in this fight.
Go hold him down. Let it go. Let it go. Let his arm go.
Hard to imagine he could have competed if he didn't have time to rehydrate.
Exactly.
Yeah, back then, the fighters, I say sometimes they actually wore in at 12 o'clock or either 9 or 10 in the morning at the earliest. And you had to be in the ring around 9 or 10 at night. But now they can weigh in at 4 o'clock and they have almost 30 hours to gain whatever weight. It's a good side and a bad side to it. Because a lot of these guys, as you said, Jim, if they had to win the same day, they wouldn't be fighting in the divisions that they're fighting in now.
Right, it seems to me like all the divisions, there are now bigger guys fighting in all the divisions because they have more time to cut weight.
Yes. And it's all driven by boxing medicine. At the end of the day, the ultimate decision was that it was safer to give the fighters a day to recover from the often arduous process and debilitating process of making weight, as opposed to taking the risks involved in letting fighters go into the ring the way Rios would have gone into the ring if he had to weigh in today.
So it helps the promoter too. It helps to give a chance to have the weigh in the day before, an extra day to get on the news. To the
Great point. And weigh-ins have become huge events. Yesterday, 4,000 people filled the theater at Madison Square Garden to see the fighters weigh in for tonight. And several thousand more were supposedly arrayed on the street outside on 8th Avenue, 31st Street, trying to get in.
Boy, Murray just looks like a beaten guy right now. Rios is fighting really subtly well, varying the speed and force of his punches, just touching, and then putting in something hard.
Looks at this point as though Rios is likely to make it to the finish line in good order. That wasn't necessarily clear in rounds 4 and 5 when he appeared to be fading. But he got his second wind. Another live look at the dressing rooms. Still a somewhat different atmosphere. There are television monitors in the dressing rooms. And now look at Margarito's skin, and you see dry skin. There is no buildup of perspiration on his surface. Cotto looks wet and is far more warmed up for the fight, at least in terms of appearance at this point.
Both guys are two cool guys when it comes down to nervousness before fights.
Both in terrific shape.
Both smart veterans who've been down the road dozens of times. Power shots in round 10. Rios 42 of 81. Murray only 21 of 71. It's subtle, as Max Kellerman said in the last round, but very gradually Murray is fading and Rios is establishing his dominion.
Punch out. Hands are free. Punch out.
Gotta say, Just when it looks like Murray's going to give, he starts the round, a big right uppercut. Really, really game guy.
We're now 35 minutes past the earliest time at which the main event could have begun. And there's still going to be some passage of time because you have to assume that Robert Garcia wants to warm Tony Margarito up when he gets to the dressing room. And these are hard shots. Murray's starting to take more and more punishment, if that's imaginable at this point.
Really been a brutal fight.
Come on, keep up, Don, keep up.
Some things are built in, Emmanuel, at least it seems that way. And one of them is the way your skin reacts to punches. Brandon Rios' face looks relatively clean, even though he's been in a very hard-fought 11 rounds and Murray's landed a lot of shots. But John Murray's face is all busted up.
Rios, to me, hasn't been hit really that bad compared to, Murray. Rios is cleaning him up with clean shots right up through the center, and Murray don't have any defense. He puts his hands on the side of his face and just lets the punches come up.
Earl Brown's got to take a very close look here. Murray's taking a lot of shots to the head in this fight.
A good referee, and he's going to stop.
That's a really good stop.
Excellent, just excellent. And what a performance by Brandon Rios. After a titanic struggle to make weight.
Murray is sort of still out on his feet.
TKO for Brandon Rios in the 11th round. And what turned out, despite all of the difficulty that he faced in getting ready, to be a typical Brandon Rios performance. Well, Murray showed, as the British say, a lot of bottle.
He fought a very courageous fight. Much better than I thought. It took a lot more punishment than I expected him to take and be able to remain in the fight.
Good job. Rios closed the show, Emmanuel, landing 41 of 66 power shots. That was brutal.
That was a tremendous right hand right there. And the rest of the shots mainly were just coming right up through the center and the right hand on the side of the head.
You made the point about no defense. His hands are separated, and Rios took advantage all night long.
Yes, I mean, it was very, very poor defense on the part of Murray. It was virtually no defense to me, when it's keeping your hands on the side of your face and never angling your body at all to avoid getting hit with uppercuts through the center.
And this is the moment at which Max Kellerman and Earl Brown stopped the fight. Let's go to Michael Buffer with the official particulars on the... Hold on. Oh, that's what Margarito looked like when he saw the win for Brandon Rios. All right, there's the celebration in that dressing room. Now that we've covered that, we can go to Michael Buffer.
Gentlemen, referee Earl Brown has to step in and call a halt to the fight. The official time, 2 minutes, 6 seconds, round number 11. The winner by TKO victory, Brandon Bam Bam Rios.
Final CompuBox numbers, and they're huge as usual for Rios. He lands 73 punches more, lands at a somewhat higher connect percentage, throws 1,002 punches in 10+ rounds, and does so against a guy who's all offense, John Murray, not much defense, threw 921 punches himself, got hammered, and his face has been busted up badly. Power shots, and there weren't that many jabs in the fight. And here you see Rios' percentage goes up, 297 out of 668. And probably a near majority of those 297 landed shots were uppercuts. And here's a look at the where. And you see the 140 shots on the chin for John Murray, and that's my point. Of those 140 shots, the overwhelming number of those, the vast majority, are uppercuts. 274 punches landed to the head. Rios got hit with 38 punches to the head and 59 to the body, but it didn't seem to bother him all that much.